Okay. I'm a little excited about this one.
You've been excited all morning. That usually means something interesting happened.
I heard the voices. And it suddenly felt real.
That's such a specific moment. Like something crossing from imagination into existence.
Exactly. And then the scripts became slides. Automatically.
So you weren't manually building everything step by step?
No. It was more like setting something in motion and watching it run. Today we're looking at a production pipeline that turns ideas into finished media faster than most people think possible.
And more importantly, why that changes how you think about what you can create.
The surprising part wasn't the technology. It was the speed.
Because when something happens quickly, your brain stops treating it as a huge project.
It starts feeling like you can just wish something into existence.
That's a powerful shift. Less planning paralysis. More experimentation.
From a systems perspective, what matters is removing latency between intention and output. The shorter that loop becomes, the more creative iteration a person can perform.
Psychologically, speed creates motivation. People continue when they see results quickly. Delayed reward kills creativity. Immediate reward amplifies it.
And suddenly, you're not just using AI. You're designing systems with it.
That's the part people don't expect. You start feeling more capable than before.
Which leads to the big realization we're heading toward today.
This level of production isn't reserved for companies anymore.
And once you see that, your expectations change permanently. So once the voices were working, the next realization hit. This didn't have to stay an experiment.
Right. Because if you can do it once manually, you can probably automate it.
And automation changes the emotional experience. Suddenly you're not grinding, you're generating.
From an engineering standpoint, this is a threshold moment. Once a workflow becomes deterministic, scalability follows naturally. You are no longer solving a task. You are operating a machine that produces outcomes.
That's a huge psychological shift. Because creators are used to starting from zero every time.
Humans interpret repeated startup effort as friction, and friction reduces motivation.
So the real breakthrough wasn't the voices or the slides individually. It was connecting them. Script becomes audio. Audio becomes timing. Timing becomes visuals. Visuals become video.
And once the chain exists, you're not building videos anymore. You're running a system.
There was one scary moment though, the rendering step. Everything else worked. But merging audio and slides with smooth transitions almost broke the momentum.
That's the point where most people quit.
Exactly. But once that last piece worked, the feeling changed instantly. It went from fragile experiment to something you could trust.
And once trust appears, imagination expands.
This is the classic transition from prototype to platform. Once established, the marginal cost of each new output becomes extremely low.
Which is the real magic here. Not perfection, accessibility. A plug-and-play explainer generator you can reuse without extra overhead.
And seeing your ideas presented this way actually clarifies them.
Which means the pipeline isn't just production. It's part of the creative process itself. Once the slides existed, the next question was obvious: could the entire process connect end to end? Script to slides. Slides to audio. Audio to video. No manual assembly in between.
That's the moment when something stops being a project and becomes a system.
From an engineering perspective, you are creating a deterministic pipeline. Inputs transform predictably into outputs.
There was one step that almost broke that chain though.
The rendering stage?
Exactly. Getting the audio and slides merged with smooth transitions took several attempts. For a moment it looked like the entire proof of concept might fail at the finish line.
Psychologically, that's very common. Humans interpret late-stage friction as a signal that the goal was unrealistic.
But one working script solved it, merging pieces step by step until the whole video existed.
So the breakthrough wasn't perfection. It was proof that it could work.
Exactly. Machine learning culture calls this getting the pipeline working first, refinement comes later.
Once the system runs end to end, iteration becomes dramatically easier because constraints are now visible.
And when the first complete video rendered, that was the emotional turning point.
Because suddenly this wasn't hypothetical anymore.
It went from hack experiment to something that felt production level.
Those moments are powerful because they reset self-perception. People realize they are capable of more than they assumed.
And that realization is exactly what this demonstration was meant to trigger.
Not just look what AI can do, but look what you might be able to do.
Because the entire system was built in about 30 hours.
That's the part that breaks expectations the most.
Historically, that level of production would require a coordinated team and weeks of labor.
Which leads directly to the biggest shift of all, the role of the creator. Once the pipeline existed, something unexpected happened. The cost of producing the next video dropped almost to zero.
So the barrier stops being production and becomes imagination.
This is the classical transition from effort-bound work to system-bound work. You invest once in architecture, and then the architecture performs repeatedly.
Psychologically, that realization is empowering. People stop feeling dependent on external resources. They begin to see themselves as capable producers rather than consumers.
I think that's the part people don't expect. The confidence change.
Because when you can turn an idea into something real quickly, doubt loses its grip. And that's the larger message behind this demonstration. This level of production used to require teams, budgets, and weeks of coordination.
Now a motivated individual can do it. With the right approach.
Which brings us back to why we're showing this. This isn't about impressing anyone. I made this to help you break through doubts and start creating something you care about.
And honestly, learning gets a lot more fun once you're making things.
Next time, we're going to show how this same approach applies to your own projects.
Bring your fragments. That's enough to start.